Yes.
I want to say, I think I heard this before Kill 'Em All.
Another power trio, man.
Another power trio, and definitely they had one foot in the thrash camp already.
Oh yeah.
And thrash was not really established yet. I think Exciter gets forgotten amidst.
Oh, big time.
From the big four, because I think they were still they still had one foot firmly planted in the metal, the priest type metal territory, but they had definitely put their best foot forward into thrash, and were kind of
they were in there, yeah, like Animal. They were the precursors to thrash or Raven.
Yep. So I remember when I first heard this, because I always loved the cover. I remember seeing it, going, "Oh wow, those guys look violent. I better not listen to them." And then at some point, you just say to hell with all of it. You throw caution to the wind, and a friend says, "Hey, here's a tape of the Exciter Heavy Metal Maniac. Check it out." Wow, what a great album! This is an awesome album.
Insanely high.
Yeah, very high, and he's the drummer. Yep, lead vocalist drummer. How often do you see that in metal or otherwise? I mean, you get Don Henley for the Eagles comes to mind. I can't think of anyone else.
Not a whole lot of them, but his vocals were just so insane.
Oh, it's Night Ranger. The drummer sang Sister Christian.
Oh,
but he wasn't the lead vocalist. Dan Beeler handled it all. Man, it was killer.
And he was a manic drummer too.
Yeah, and this is the classic lineup. We got John Ricci on guitar and Alan Johnson on bass. Very denim and leather, spikes and studs. I met John Ricci, I think it was after Violence and Force came out, which was their second album, and I was really into Randy Rhoads at the time. He did a meet and greet at the Record Exchange in Walnut Creek, California, which is heavy metal mecca at that time. And I brought in an article of Randy Rhoads from Hit Parader, like a tribute, and I had him sign it and kind of just write some thoughts about Randy Rhoads. It was cool talking to him about it. He was a nice
guy, right?
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Okay, yeah.
Dan Beeler and Alan Johnson weren't there. It was just John for some reason.
I met John Ricci, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years ago, something like that. Ultimatum opened up for Exciter in Albuquerque.
And John was the only one left.
John Ricci was the only original member.
Yeah.
But man, was he a nice guy. He sat there, he came out, and he talked to Ultimatum for, I'm going to say, a good hour.
Yeah, he was
chatting music and gear. And I mean, he's definitely... Ultimatum has always been metal fans and a metal band, and I can say the same thing about John Ricci.
Yeah. Now, what's the status of them now? I know Dan Beeler had his own...
From what I understand, the original members are all back and recording together and touring together.
All three of the original
members, yeah.
Awesome. Now, Dan Beeler had his own project called Beeler.
Yeah, for a while, but...
And I also believe Chuck Beeler of Megadeth fame was his brother.
And Dan kept it... John Ricci was gone. Ricky was gone for a while too, and Beeler kept it alive for a while, and then he left, and then Ricky took over.
So they were kind of in and out of their own band, kind of thing. But Dan Beeler and Chuck Beeler are siblings, right? Chuck Beeler from Megadeth from the third album.
Are they?
I think they are. I might have to check that one, but I've always heard, and they kind of have a similar look.
I bet somebody knows. Let us know, because I'd never even put the two together. But
yeah. And I had one of their tour shirts. I never saw them, but I used to wear this thing all the time, and it was the cover.
Was that a Shrapnel release? I'm pretty sure it was, right?
Yes,
Shrapnel. Yep, Shrapnel Records. Yeah, it was insane guitars.
But not like guitar shredder guitars. This guy was much more thrash.
It was more noisy, yeah. Chaotic.
And there's some great songs.
Title
track's awesome. Stand Up and Fight's another great one. Iron Dogs!
And of course, Cry of the Banshee.
Yes, Cry of the Banshee was great, and that's really what Dan Beeler was. I mean, very high-pitched, screeching vocals in the closest you can get to thrash without being in the big four.
Yep. All right, next up, Canadian band. This is a band that definitely went towards the more commercial end with their second album. This is their first album. This is the Killer Dwarfs. And on this album, they definitely were more straightforward heavy metal.
Look at those guitars. Man, they got zebra stripes on their guitars, like all over them.
Zebra stripes, top stripes. These guys were really influenced by Ted Nugent, especially. I can really hear it on this record. Like I said, this is more straightforward than what they became with Stand Tall in their next album.
You even got the low top moccasins
and
on.
look what he's wearing on his back end.
Oh, has he got a tail? Oh, jeez.
Yep. Straightforward heavy metal, like I said, hard rock, whatever you want to call it.
Where are they from?
Canada.
Canada.
Yep.
Okay.
Canada.
I thought they were Swedish.
Nope, they were a Canadian band. So, I don't think there was really any hits on this album. The next album took them to the bigger status. I think was it Chrysalis? I can't remember what album they were on. Combat? No, Chrysalis. I don't know. Doesn't matter. This is on the Canadian record label Attic.
Same as a handful. Yep. For some of their stuff anyway.
So I don't know. Killer Dwarfs. One that just barely made lists, really, because there was some we had to cut out that didn't
And
want to cut out.
I've heard them, but I can't even remember.
I don't know. I like this album. I just think I like this next album better. And I love the video. Have you ever seen the video for it? Where they kind of do the homemade record. Look at it up sometime.
Oh, cool.
They
They don't hold a candle to the homemade videos of Chris Holmes, formerly
Oh,
of Wasp. That guy is the king of the homemade horrible video. This is a rabbit trail, but oh my god, I didn't realize.
I was gonna say, don't go there.
I didn't. Oh my god, Chris, man, Chris, you're the bomb, dude. You there's something about a guy who just he. How can I put it?
I'm not even going there, man.
It's less than 0 fucks given. That's what it is. Less, so much less. I mean, it was like watching Gigi Allen rise from the grave. Well, I don't know, man. It cracked me up on the one hand, made me sad on the other. Wow, dude. Just wow. Anyway, that leads us into Dokken, Breaking the Chains. I thought I had this on vinyl, but I don't.
Yep.
Dokken was another one of those bands like Rat. In fact, they shared a member. Juan Crucier started out in Dokken before he joined Rat. This is good stuff. It's metal, but it was leaning more towards the commercial.
Definitely, at a time when there wasn't really that melodic sound yet.
No. They always, George Lynch was a very big influence on me, my guitar playing. He had a simplistic way of writing these neat riffs. Not quite to Sabbath status, but there's just something about them. You just gravitated towards them, and you learned how to play them. And I remember Breaking the Chains is one of the first full songs I learned how to play. This definitely, this is their first album. It was a different version of the first album. It was originally released as a Don Dokken solo album. They did a remix. They added a live version of Paris is Burning.
And they put the studio version on the live album, right? Paris is
I
Burning.
don't remember.
They did.
I don't remember. It was on the original though. Michael Wagner
produced
this, and I mean, was there a more metal producer at this point? Michael Wagner was working with Raven. Was he working with Accept?
Yes, he was. Mm-hmm.
And I think Wagner and Dirk Schneider were like the Double Trouble, or what was the name of their club
that did All for One.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really massive metal production for the time. Dokken, like Rat, I think had 1 foot planted firmly in traditional heavy metal, 1 foot in the almost hair metal camp. But it just gave them a more accessible sound. 2 albums later, Dokken hit it big with Under Lock and Key. I mean, I remember my senior year of high school, even all the jocks had that one.
Yeah.
They were totally into Dokken at that point because what was the song? In My Dreams was a huge single.
All those
Unchained
melodies,
Night.
man. Yeah.
Good stuff. And the bands I was in, the cover stuff we were playing, we had a ton of Dokken stuff we were playing. It was good stuff, and it was pretty solid.
I like Dokken. I've seen him live many times, but
Dokken I think I saw on every tour.
Most of the times I've seen them live, Don was like, I swear, someone stapled his feet to the stage.
Yeah, Don's
just doesn't move any. He was very off vocally a lot too.
2000.
But you know who was never off vocally? Bass player.
Oh, Jeff Pilson. Jeff Pilson is solid.
Yep.
Man. He is a very solid player.
And he went on to play with Dio for a while.
Yeah, he's paid his dues for sure. My band Typos, we opened up for Dokken in 2005.
Yep, that's right.
Right here in Phoenix at the Marquee. We had a great show. I was so psyched. It was probably one of the biggest shows I'd ever played at the time. We had a great sound. Man, we got there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mick Brown was already there, getting his drums set up. Already halfway through a fifth of Jack Daniels at 4 in the afternoon. They weren't slated to go on until 10. Mick was great, very friendly guy.
I met him several times and very nice guy.
Plays with Ted Nugent now. I'm not sure how he handles the whole drinking thing when he's with Ted.
I spent an entire day with Ted Nugent and his band in 2008. Mick was there, and I spent actually more time with Mick than I did with Ted because Ted had to keep doing things with other people. And he was really cool, very friendly guy. Unless he was sneaking and very good at hiding it, he wasn't drinking.
Yeah, I just ran into him at a Judas Priest show last November. I was like, Mick, and I was like, hey, my band opened up for you guys in December 2005, and you don't remember, do you? He's like, no, I don't. I said, you were pretty lit when we got there. But we had a great show. Mick was awesome. I think we got to say hi to the guitar player and bass player who their names escape me. I think one of the guys was from Warlock. Don, never saw.
Nope.
Never saw him.
Nope. I won backstage passes to meet Cinderella, Dawkins, Poison, and Slaughter.
Yeah.
And Slaughter, great guys. Every single one of them came out, signed autographs. Dawkins came out, no Don.
No. We, Justin, my guitar player, and I were out back of the marquee. I don't know if we're just hanging out there, what we were doing. We saw him on the tour bus, and we saw Don out of costume. Let's just put it that way. Let your imagination. We didn't see him naked, so I mean, we just saw him out of costume, and he came out and he did the show, and it was okay. The new guys were pretty. They were pretty. Shut up, Tron. Jeez, go. Blah blah blah.
Helix, No Rest for the Wicked, another Canadian band. This was their third album, their first for a major label, Capitol Records, and they were huge at the time.
Big
Capitol
hit.
put money into them big time.
Yep. Big hit was Heavy Metal Love.
Heavy Metal Love, and that's a single for it right there.
All signed.
7-inch single. Met these guys. Most of the original, actually I met all the original band members except for Paul Hackman, another man who passed away in a car accident.
How long ago?
While the band was touring, maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little less than that. I met Brent Donor, who was the original guitar player. Great guy, hung out at his house with him. Then I also hung out, I went to Brian, why is his name escaping me?
Vollmer?
Oh, thank you. Brian Vollmer's birthday party. Another really great guy. His wife is very funny. They actually do a show on there, the Vollmers. You can watch it on YouTube.
Oh,
Check
like
it out.
a reality show?
show.
Oh, no kidding.
Those guys are a stitch. You'll love them. They're great.
I never saw this on the cover. It's got the
fangs.
the dentures with fangs on it. That's awesome.
And this is a solid album. Very good, straightforward, hard rock, heavy metal.
Yeah.
Like I said, straight out of Canada. They definitely found their sound by this album. The first two albums are a little more in the 70s hard rock vein. This is definitely your 80s straightforward heavy metal, pushing towards the hair metal. Again, kind of
they were.
Rat,
I mean,
Dawkins.
I would throw them in the same category as Quiet Riot. Really, they stayed pretty heavy for the most part.
Yes, they did.
The Long Way to Heaven album, which was 2 albums later, they kind of were getting influenced by the hair.
Yep.
Just like most people. I mean, Priest even got influenced by it.
Exactly. Well, they had your major labels. You didn't really have a choice. You know?
Right. I mean, this was their livelihood, and
Yep.
you know.
So what have we got on here? We've got, of course, we already said we have Heavy Metal Love. You've got the title track, which was actually very well known. Don't Get Mad, Get Even, Dirty Dog, which is still a staple of their live sets today. And you had the White Lace and Black Leather, which was a song, which was the title of their second album, which was on H&R Records, I believe, from 1980, 81, somewhere in that range. So we got a visitor.
This is Hunter.
Hey, Hunter.
This is Hunter Kitty. He is my solid black. He's very, very. He is a hunter. He's solid. Very cool kitty.
All right. So anyhow, you can tell we're getting tired.
We are getting tired.
One
And
take,
we still have like
so we're
20
still
to go.
hammering on. This
Well,
will be
maybe
broken
not
up into
20
multiple parts.
All right. Here's part 2.
Promise we'll keep it shorter now. Promise.
Here's part 2 of our
This is part
honorable
2.
mention.
Yes.
We got all the EPs here. We got Def Leppard, Pyromania. This was a huge album.
Yes.
Commercial success, like unbelievable. Up there with Back in Black. I remember when this came out, I was like, wow, I got a record that's really hot and I feel so hip. And I remember playing it and thinking I was right on the edge of what was cool and blah, blah, blah. I like this record. I've always liked this record. I never had a problem with it. But for me, it was the end.
I thought it was the beginning of a downward spiral. Songs I still thought were good. Mutt Lange was making them slicker and slicker. The production was state of the art for the time. And everybody was trying to sound like it after it.
Right. Yes, they were, and there was Drum Machine heavily on this. I remember an interview, Jeff Leppard, Joe Elliott, and Rick Allen, where the interviewer asked, "How did you get the drum sound that you got?" And Rick kind of looked at Joe, was like, "Is it okay? Can I tell him?" And he goes, "Yeah, go ahead and tell him." And he admitted that they used Drum Machine for almost everything on here. It was a staple of the 80s. It was new technology, and a lot of people were using it. It was kind of shocking to hear that they were using it. The cool part about this, it's no secret how I feel about Def Leppard. Pete Willis, to me, was the balls of Def Leppard for sure, and he did play the backing tracks on this whole album. Phil Collins was brought in for the rest. Collins. I liked it at the time. I thought it was a great album.
Colin played in Girl before that.
Played in Girl. And they were a new wave of British heavy metal, arguably one of the top 2 bands that came out of that, the most successful bands, them and the other one being Iron Maiden.
Yep. Definitely took some different directions, that's for sure.
And MTV took this album and they ran with it. Photograph, Foolin', was it Rock of Ages was the other one that got played like constantly.
And then the re-recorded version or remixed version of Bringing on the Heartbreak.
Bringing on the Heartbreak, which came out the year after this. They were trying to capitalize on the success of this and Me and My Wine.
It definitely worked.
It definitely worked. But like I said, the end of Def Leppard, because tragedy struck really quickly. By 1984, Rick Allen had lost his arm in that crash when he was just driving like a bat out of hell. Cocky, you think? I mean, Def Leppard was a young group.
Yep.
They were very young.
They were teenagers when they
first
started. Yeah, exactly.
So definitely paid the price of the excess and all that freedom that the success and the cash brought. I remember anticipating Hysteria, like I'm going to support these guys, they've been through hell, and it just left me flat. Left me completely flat.
It's plastic and void of life. That's the way I think it is. Yeah. There's no human element left.
There's 3 songs on it I can stand, but it was definitely not the Leopard I loved anymore.
Yep.
That's all right. I mean, there's plenty of you out there. There's plenty of girls that, man, Pour Some Sugar on Me is their, like the anthem of their life. That's great. Go for it.
That song was written because girls do need songs to dance around strip holes too.
This is true, I suppose.
So, yeah.
And if you're going to be part of the sex corral under the stage.
All right, next up, going back to the new wave of British heavy metal once again, we showed Rock Goddess earlier, now we've got Girl School.
There would have been no Rock Goddess if there had been no Girl School.
This album is their 4th album, and
they got
departure in sound.
They got some airplay on MTV with the title track, Play Dirty.
They sure did.
And I was psyched, because I already liked Girl School. I already had Hit and Run, and
doesn't quite have the punky Motorheadish sound that they did on the first 3 albums. Has a cleaner sound, slicker sound. Was produced by I wrote it on the back so I remember. Noddy Holder and Jim Lee
of Slade.
And then Noddy Holder and Jim Lee also wrote some songs on here. Ooh, I should have written that down.
But Slade, I mean, anybody who knows Slade, they were song machines.
Yes, they were.
They were great songwriters, and so to
have
have
them,
them
about Quiet Riot earlier.
Exactly. Slade even had a resurgence in '83.
Yep, they sure did.
We didn't include Slade.
Yeah. Everybody had it on the list.
Keep Your Hands Off My Power Supply yielded 2 huge songs, maybe the biggest they'd ever known, which was Run, Run Away and My Oh My. And the fact that they...
Was that 83 or was that 82?
I think it was 83, or maybe it was 84.
Maybe, I don't know.
But the fact that they were getting work like this, they were back in the game.
Yep.
Really.
Definitely a cleaner sound. Very clean sound. Almost, again, it kind of reminds me a little bit of that kind of Joan Jett, Lita Ford, Runaways kind of sound. Doesn't have the grit or the Motorheadish sound that I always
cleaned up a little bit.
You always heard that they're the female version of Motorhead. Not here. Definitely cleaned up, but still sounds.
They were going for some success. MTV was there, and they were trying to capitalize on it. Lemmy was on here. He did some backing vocals.
Yes, he did. He was good friends with that band.
Song.
Of course, they did that EP together. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Yep. Head School.
Now this is the album where original bassist Enid was gone. They had the new bass player on here, and I don't see her name. But so the original 4 were no longer. They had a new member.
Yep.
She came back later, but it's kind of.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was also the last album for a while for. I don't know. I may be wrong.
Kelly?
For Kelly.
No, I think she was still around.
I don't know.
We could be wrong.
Regardless.
I lost track of him, I have to admit, after this one.
I picked back up with them in recent years. I just started rediscovering them in the last few years. I picked up the first 3 because I loved them. Picked up this one and loved it. And then I was like, I'm going to check out Take a Bite. I don't know how I missed it.
Yeah.
Great album. So, anyhow.
There's also a T-Rex cover on here, 20th Century Boy.
20th Century Boy, yep. Great. And I like that version too. So,
yeah.
This happens to be a Japanese pressing with the demo version with the little Japanese demo on the top. I just thought it was cool, so I brought it along the show. And Obi strip. Obi. Obi-Wan.
Obi.
Obi.
Obstetrician.
Obey, obey.
Hey, that's
Obey.
hey. Never mind. Girl band. Obey.
You're up.
Where are we at? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sort of heavy. Band that is definitely known for their heaviness in the 70s. Some called them the American Black Sabbath. I don't know if I agree with
I don't
that.
know either. I definitely know that people called them metal in the 70s.
Yes. Blue Oyster Cult, Revolution by Night. Follow up to their stellar Fire of Unknown Origin
Yep.
LP.
And yet nobody bought it.
Not quite as strong. Shooting Shark was the main single. My favorite cut was Take Me Away. It was also a single, but great song.
Yep.
The other stuff on here, I can't honestly say that it's forgettable for me. And they released a few more albums after this that were kind of.
I go through like I get into Boys moods, and I go with the first album, and I end up going through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And when I get to this album, I always enjoy the whole thing all the way through. And I love the back cover art too.
Yeah, the back cover art looks like it could have been part of the Fire of Unknown Origin sessions. You know, it's that similar. It's like more of an Egyptian kind of feel, but not as much as like the Druid, but still like the hieroglyphics in the rocks. This similar kind of look. Not my favorite Blue Oyster Cult, but not my least favorite either. I've said that a few times this session.
Okay, next up we've got Seattle's Culprit. I would describe them as heavy metal, power metal. Power metal meaning U.S. power metal, where they're just on the edge of having a speed sound.
So they Culprit with a C?
Culprit with a C.
But it looks kind of like a K.
It kind of does. But
that's clever!
These guys, it's weird because they have this kind of like cult status. Never were a big band, never got as big as like say Metal Church. They actually remind me of kind of like Metal Church or Vicious Rumors in their sound.
Really?
Their sound is very.
They kind of have a makeup-y look.
Yeah.
I thought that was Terry Bozzio.
It actually kind of looks a little bit like Don Dokken in the back there.
Kinda, yeah. But they're that heavy.
Yeah, a little more melodic than more like the dark era Metal Church rather than the very first album, which kind of almost is thrash.
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, beware of drummers who sit in front of burning gongs.
Alex Van Halen was the first.
They tend to overplay.
Oh.
But these guys definitely have the makeup look, but they're not looking pretty boy makeup. They're trying to look kind of, I don't know, dark. They got the dark makeup around their eyeballs, you know.
It's kind of like a pretty dark. Not pretty dark. Pretty dark.
Exactly. Shrapnel Records release, so you know the guitar playing on there has got to be. There was never a Shrapnel album that didn't have a whole lot of guitar soloing on there. So you got that on here. I swear he looks like Don Dokken right there, doesn't he?
He looks like Juan Crucier.
So you got. And these guys predates Metal Church by at least a year, which is. But I'm going to also say.
Too. Okay.
Yep. I'm going to also say. Excuse me. I keep this in my itchy nose today. I'm going to also say that they were probably a little young or not yet mature enough as a band, because you kind of get that rawness that they were like a young band.
Kind of green.
But I don't know. I just like it. I've loved it since I bought it back in. I think I bought it in the early '90s on vinyl. Back when you could buy vinyl for a few bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Culprit.
Not anymore. All right, what do we have? Oh, okay. All right, we're getting to the.
You're getting to the end. Yep.
All right. Let's see. I grew up in Maine. I lived there for 14 years, and then I moved to California for a couple of years. First show I saw in California in '83 was ACDC on the Flick of the Switch tour. First time I saw ACDC ever. Wow, what a great show. Damn, what a loud show. Fastly opened for him, so I was totally into it. Great show. I love this album to this day. I probably prefer it to Back in Black and For Those About to Rock just because it's just metal.
Not tour, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of a more bluesy album than the first two.
I think it kind of harkens back to the earlier stuff.
Yes, less metal, but damn, there's a ton of boogie and groove on this, and just great songs that they don't remind me of anything really that's on the two that preceded it with Brian Johnson.
But I thought all ACDC albums sound the same.
Not quite.
Yeah.
This one's different to me.
If people say that to me, that's like, I just have no respect for your opinion now.
Yeah.
It's like saying all Motorhead albums are the same.
AC/DC and Motorhead are consistent.
But you can tell the difference if
they're not identical.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no way. They progressed. They changed a little bit, you know?
There's nothing on here I don't like. Rising Power, House is on Fire, Flick of the Switch.
I think the only hit was maybe Nervous Shakedown. Oh, yeah. Singles. I'm holding it, didn't even notice it.
I like them all. It's just songs that really kind of, they stick with you. Great album. Cover art, hand-drawn picture of Angus flicking the switch or whatever. And if you don't really know what it says and you look at it from a distance, it kind of doesn't look like it says flick. It looks like it says something else. But I'll let you look at your album and figure out what.
All right, we are almost to the bottom of this 40 list.
Almost to the top 10. Can you imagine there's still 10 more that we haven't covered? Damn.
All right, another one that really could have made my top 10.
Oh, totally.
We just didn't include it because, like I said, it was hard, man, getting these down to... It was hard getting down to 50 out of 80.
Yeah, 83, definitely metal was becoming much more its own genre.
I can't believe there was 80 metal albums in 83 that we had to choose from. Anyhow.
Crazy.
Anvil.
Anvil for it.
We said a little bit about him before. We were talking about Exciter, one of the purveyors of, or precursors to thrash metal.
Yeah.
Still even here.
These guys are right on the edge of it. Right on the edge.
But they actually slowed it down a little bit on this one.
Yep. This was
Forged in Fire was slow,
churning,
heavy.
But what a great song! It's a song about an anvil. How do you write a song that's 5 minutes about an anvil?
We always get off on tangents, but I remember I was in church and they were saying that song was so evil.
Forged in Fire?
Evil. It's all about the flames of hell, and I'm like,
it's about an anvil.
And I'm like, did you guys ever actually read the lyrics of this song?
I can't even believe they even knew about this one.
Oh man, it was just like, what? And it was actually a friend of mine. His name was Jeff, who was telling me that he wouldn't buy this album because of that song.
Jeff Thrasher? No way.
Yep.
It's about a literal anvil.
That's how anvils are made.
And of course they're romanticizing it like, whoa, it's the heaviest of metals and it was forged in the fires of Mount Vulcan or whatever.
You got a little bit, okay, let's look at the other songs. You got a little bit of melody in songs like Free as the Wind for sure.
Winged Assassins, one of my favorites.
Yeah, you got Future Wars on here, which is, for some reason that song reminds me of Raven.
Then we got Butterbus Jerky.
He always had the one song on there.
It's like, it's got to be sexual because it's so damn goofy.
Lips always had to have the one song that was, about sex.
Yeah, and it's like, all right,
thanks.
Whatever.
But I always liked the back cover photos. They
look like nice boys.
Yes, they do.
I mean, they look so badass on the back cover of Metal on Metal. They scared me. They look nice. They look clean shaven.
They're all clean shaven.
They're all washed.
Got a couple pimples. It's like, I think I went to high school with these guys.
Yeah. Man. Oh man, Rob Reiner, he looks different nowadays.
Yeah, he does.
But no metal faces. It's just like regular. They're not trying to look mean. They're just them.
Yep.
That's it.
This is another Japanese pressing I happen to have, so I brought it along just because it's a little different than you got the U.S. pressing or you probably the Canadian pressing.
Yeah, it's Canadian.
So again, Canadian band. So
Metal on Metal in this one, my two favorite anvils of all time.
I just think the first three are just seminal. I mean, you can't really have a metal collection and not have those.
Not have at least one of them.
Yeah. So
Anvil.
And again, produced by Chris Sangrides.
Chris Sangrides.
Yep.
It sounds like a drink, doesn't it? Like it's an exotic tropical drink. All right. We did these in alphabetical order going backwards.
Somewhat.
Could you tell?
Yeah, somewhat.
I'm actually... This could have been in the top 10 also, I think.
Oh yeah. We had it in our list.
I had just gotten into Ruston Wild the year before, so this was highly anticipated for a lot of people I knew. Balls to the Wall.
Yep, I remember hearing Fast as a Shark and it blew me away.
I remember hearing Balls to the Wall on Metal Shop the first time they premiered it, and I was like, wow!
Yep.
Totally different feel from Fast as a Shark, but damn, what a heavy song. And the middle part, the whole, I mean, who knows where the hell Udo's coming from? Yeah, let's plug a bomb in everyone's ass.
Then they crush they crush what sounds like a rubber ball, and it sounds, my wife always hated that sound.
It's just, Udo he's in his own world really, and he is one of the metal gods. I put him up there, Halford's left hand, that kind of thing.
And these are both Randy's copies, and
one is that's the American one on Portrait, CBS.
This is actually
picked them up.
This is on Polydor.
That's the import.
This is the import German, and there's no accept logo in the front, and it has the classic logo on the back.
But this one has the classic logo on the front, which I prefer this cover. I never particularly liked this one without, but I don't know where this one's from, because this was not the typical American cover. I'm not seeing where it's from, but it's not an American release. This one's definitely
it
doesn't matter. Heavy.
German release.
London Leather Boys is another one that was just friggin' heavy. Fight It Back's a great one with those squeals that he did, those pig squeals. Like, where was Udo coming from? I don't know. Losing More Than You Ever Had, always one of my favorite titles.
Losers and Winners.
Yep. Turn Me On, Winter Dreams is a great track.
Yeah.
Great album. Great album.
I can't even say the title Losers and Winners unless I not get that melody going in my head.
Yep.
Except
was, yeah.
Sir Udo.
Very unique metal band. You really can't
Very
compare
German
it to anybody else. Yeah,
they were German, yeah. There's a lot of German bands that end up trying to sound like them too.
Yep. Oh, this one has a lion.
Yeah, so it said the classic logo on it, yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so this is the last one in my pile. You're done, right?
Yeah, we take a break.
This is the last
after
one.
this.
We're going to take a
We're
break.
going to take a break, and we'll do the top 10.
But this is our last one for this pile. We showed Steeler earlier.
Yep.
And this was Alcatraz.
Yes.
I went to go see Ted Nugent at Six Flags Great Adventure, and opening up for Ted Nugent, Alcatraz with Yngwie.
Interesting band.
Oh my goodness.
They got one of the most interesting vocalists of the time. Very unique sounding voice in Graham Bonnet,
who had been in Rainbow previously.
Yep. And we got Yngwie, who just came out of Steeler. He's still that kind of guitar player, but Yngwie totally worshipped the ground that Richie Blackmore walked on. So this had to be a thrill for him, playing with someone who just came out
of Rainbow, and you kind of get that Rainbow-ish, 80s Rainbow-ish sound.
Definitely.
But you get that neoclassical guitar all over the place here too.
And the songwriting on here, highly commercially accessible.
Very much so.
I mean,
but very accomplished. It's not like you think commercially accessible, you immediately think pop, and it's like simplistic. You think Lick It Up.
And it's
it's not Lick It Up at all.
and it's a grower. I didn't like it at first, but then songs like "Sail Away to the Island in the Sun," and "Hiroshima, Mon Amour," they just grow on you. They're just kind of like big and like overblown production.
And Graham Bonnet had some kind of obsession with the Japanese culture.
Yeah.
So you've got Kuri Nikuri, which kind of has that Japanese sound. You've got Hiroshima Mon Amour. Hiroshima Mon Amour.
Yeah, we got Japanese and French.
Yep.
All together.
It's kind of bizarre.
It's kind of a Frappanese.
There you go. Frappuccino.
Frappuccino. Yeah,
Frap. Anyhow, here's the guy in the back. And then they released a live album after this one, which I actually like the live album even better.
No Pro from Rock and Roll.
This was kind of clean.
No, this is No Pro from Rock and Roll.
Yeah, and it was
Live Sentence. That was the one.
And that kind of had that raw energy. They grabbed that, something about live albums sometimes where they capture that raw energy.
And they did Since You've Been Gone on that, which was the Rainbow tune. And then they did a tune that ended up becoming one of Yngwie's songs on first Bouncing release, which name escapes me right now, but I can't remember it either.
Yeah,
because I don't think I knew that.
So anyhow,
and the live one was the second and last release with Yngwie. Third album had Steve Vai on it, which is that album is a totally different animal, but it's great as well. It's just an interesting band, kind of a super group kind of feel.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. So that's it. That's 40.
We're going to take a break. We're going to go pinch a loaf, and we'll come back and do the top 10.
So yes, we will do we're going to come back and do a whole separate video, just the top 10.
Yeah.
And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this series. I know it's long. Probably going to be broken up into 2 pieces by now, but
2 or 3. This has been a long ass one.
Yes, it has. So that's it for this edition. We'll chat at you later.
See you in a few.